The NFL draft is done and over, and I am going to be breaking down each and every team and grading out their draft. So check back every day, because one team I will do every single day, and I'll have it up here on YouTube for you to watch. We'll go over every prospect that they drafted, as well as some key undrafted free agents that they may bring in. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments section, and I'll be sure to address them for you. Also, just be aware on my draft grades, no one fails the draft, especially right after it. Even no one in this draft is going to get a D or an F from me, because everyone had a talent. Everyone did something. So if you think the grades are a little bit high, that's just me not going to too much extremes. And maybe in 3 or 4 years, when we look back on this draft, then we can see who really succeeded and who really failed. So sit back, relax, enjoy me as I break down every single team this year. The draft expert, Shane Hallam, shows off his knowledge. Writing mock drafts, prospects from the best college. Breaking down tape, he might develop a man crush. Tearing up guys, taking questions in a rush. Comparisons, learning lessons, Shane saves the day, oy vey. Hulk or Banner, doesn't matter. Listen, cause here's who can play. Alright everyone, today we're going to go over the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers had a draft that definitely has put people on polar opposites of if it's good or if it was bad and how they feel about it. And the pick that is going to really isolate this draft for people is their second round pick. Now, they did not have a first rounder. They traded it last year for Everett Brown. So in the second, they got Jimmy Clausen, quarterback out of Notre Dame. Some people, including myself, had him as their #1 QB on the board. He's a solid player. He's not spectacular. He can throw the ball. He can make a lot of the throws very well. Not great. He's not going to be perfect. He's not going to be Peyton Manning. But he's someone that can win you games. And I think that those questions of is he overly dynamic versus the question of is he mature enough to handle this is why he fell to the second. And Carolina might reap those benefits. And they have Matt Moore there right now, who I like Matt Moore. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he'll probably start most, if not the whole year this year. But Jimmy Clausen is going to get his shot in a year or two, and we'll see how that affects the wide receivers that they have in Carolina and that running offense. I think this is a great fit for Clausen. He needed a good fit. Buffalo wasn't that fit. Carolina very well may be. In the third, they got Brandon LaFell, wide receiver at LSU. And I like this pick. I'm not a huge Brandon LaFell fan. He makes too many mental mistakes for my taste. He drops a lot of easy balls. He has very small hands. But he's athletic. He runs very good routes. He gets physical with guys. He's not afraid to block. He's very good in the red zone. This is the type of wide receiver Carolina always takes, and they haven't had that much success with it. You could say Mushin Muhammad in his younger years was successful. You have to say Dwayne Jarrett is probably close to a bust. We'll see what happens this year. So Brandon LaFell, he'll have a shot at that #2 spot from day one. He can compete for that, and we'll see how that works out for him. Then in the third, they traded a second next year for Armani Edwards, quarterback at Appalachian State, who's going to be playing wide receiver for them. And this might be the guy. This might be the guy that is the #2 guy next to Steve Smith. He's a smaller wide receiver. You know, he hasn't played that in college. He's infamous for beating Michigan as the Appalachian State quarterback. And coming from a small school, you know, he ran at his pro day, ran a 4.4, really looks good. He's very athletic, very explosive. And so I think Carolina feels very comfortable at converting him into a wide receiver, and we'll see what he can do. I think they have LaFell and Edwards very equally in their books as guys that could be the #2 next to Steve Smith. So don't be surprised if Armani Edwards is the guy that wins that #2 job this year. In the fourth, they got a real steal, in my opinion, Eric Norwood, linebacker out of South Carolina. Another one of these players that he's not going to wow you on tape. You know, he's not going to be overly athletic. He's not going to run faster than everyone else. He's not going to just knock over an offensive tackle with his strength, but he always has great technique. He always gets to the quarterback. He was a very good pass rusher in South Carolina, a little bit undersized. So that's why he's definitely going to be sticking a linebacker there for Carolina. I think it's going to be interesting to see how they use him, especially with Thomas Davis and the injury issues that he's had. I think Eric Norwood could be a nice backup in that position and be someone that can fill in and rush the passer, cover guys if you need him. I think Eric Norwood's going to contribute to this team. In the 6th, they got Greg Hardy, defensive end out of Ole Miss, and I like Greg Hardy. Look, he has the first-round talent. He just never stayed on the field. He is so injury-prone, maybe the most injury-prone player that was drafted. You don't know if he's going to be able to stick on the field. He has some off-the-field issues. He has maturity issues. But in the 6th round, it's worth taking a chance on. You could get an instant starter from Greg Hardy because of his pure talent that he showed at Ole Miss at many times throughout his career. Now, he came into the All-Star games, looked pretty poor, wasn't overly impressed with him, and it's going to be interesting to see how he's used. I think they're going to get him healthy, see if that athleticism, see if those physical skills are still there. He has good technique. He's good against the run. He's good against the pass. I think it's worth a shot in the 6th round, and I was surprised no one took a chance earlier. And then also in the 6th, they had a couple 6th-round picks. They took David Geddes, wide receiver, and I think David Geddes is going to be a very underrated player that people are going to overlook because they got LaFell, because they got Edwards. But Geddes could be the man. He's big. He's fast. He gets down the field. He's good with that 9 route. He has some trouble catching the ball. You know, he'll drop balls as well, similar to LaFell or Carlton Mitchell that we talked about with Cleveland. But he has all the physical skills. And if you can develop him into learning how to run routes, learning how to catch the ball and not use his body all the time, I think David Geddes is someone that has a high starting wide receiver potential upside, and so that's interesting to me to see. Also in the 6th, they got Jordan Pugh out of Texas A&M. And Jordan Pugh is a player that's probably a safety linebacker tweener. We'll see what he ends up playing at the next level. I think they could try him out at both positions and see what he fits better. He's not very fast, but he's a big hitter, can make some big hits, probably more of a special teamer to start out. In the 6th, a questionable pick a lot of people talked about was they selected Tony Pike, quarterback out of Cincinnati. This is a player a lot of people thought could be a 3rd-round pick, maybe even a 2nd-round pick, and he fell. And the reason Carolina took him was because he was by far the highest-rated player on their board at the end of the 6th round. They just could not pass him up. I think he's going to get cut. I don't think he's going to make this team. I'm not a Tony Pike hater per se, but he has the frame, he has the accuracy, but not much else. Didn't play in a pro-style system, doesn't have the arm strength. He has trouble throwing it outside of the numbers. I really don't think he's going to make this team. I think Hunter Cantwell, who they like a lot in Carolina, who's probably secure in a roster spot, is going to beat him out. And Tony Pike will either make the practice squad or be cut, whereas Jimmy Clausen, Matt Moore, and Cantwell will make the team. In the 7th, they got R.J. Stanford out of Utah, and he is a cornerback who's probably going to be more of a cover corner. We'll see what they do with him. I think, once again, another special teams guy, just going to give you depth in the secondary. I think that's what they were looking for here. And then the last pick was Robert McClain out of UConn, a return specialist. Something that they'd like to go back to those days of having a big-time returner there in Carolina. There's a couple people. I think Armani Edwards can do it. I think Robert McClain can do it. So we'll see if they can find a return man out of this. Overall, I give their draft an A. I think there were a lot of late-round picks that aren't going to make a huge impact, but they took a lot of chances on players as well that I think could. I just like the way this draft set up without a first-round pick. You got Jimmy Clausen, quarterback of the future. You got Brandon LaFell and Armani Edwards, wide receivers that can fill in, that could have been taken earlier than the 3rd round. There was talk for both of these guys as 2nd-round picks, and sometimes even LaFell 1st round. I think Eric Norwood was a great pick. I think Hardy was a great pick. I think those are 2 guys that could fill in as starters if they hit their potential. I think David Geddes is a good pick. I mean, Tony Pike, though I think he's going to get cut, the value is there. I understand it. So I give him an A with this. I can understand people giving him a lower grade, but I think this is a draft that is going to help this team, even if John Fox isn't there after this year. In terms of undrafted free agents, no one really caught my eye for them. Andre Neblett, defensive tackle out of Temple, was someone that I was interested in because I think Carolina needs more defensive tackle depth. So I think he's someone that could at least make the team. But past that, no one really caught my eye of undrafted free agents. So there you go. There's Carolina. A for them. Stay tuned for tomorrow. Chicago Bears, another team that did not have a 1st or even 2nd round pick.